My story as a married young man. I'm mostly posting this for my own sanity and so I can get my story out there, as I don't have anyone in my life I can share it with. Opinions are welcome, but that's not why I'm here. I, 23 male, met my wife, 24 female, when we were both 18. It was honestly a whirlwind romance and it sucked me in. We met online, had an amazing first date, and it just felt right. I was troubled over an NC breakup I had, but she didn't feel like a rebound. Everything was great. We had great, my family loved her, and all was good. She ended up moving in with me temporarily after 2 months of dating due to other circumstances outside her control, and there were no problems at all. She fit into my life great. We got engaged at 6 months, married a little after a year together at a small ceremony, and life felt sweet. She had baggage that I was aware of, but not to the extent as I had previously though. She had trauma from a parent passing, as well as clinical depression. It was managed with medication and wasn't a big deal. Almost 6 months pass, and it quickly becomes less sweet. We were involved in a motor vehicle accident that resulted in her requiring back surgery. It took a huge mental toll on her, worsening her depression. While her surgery was successful, it still left her with significant pain. I was the best husband I could be. I accompanied her to every doctor's appointment and PT session. I helped with lawyer stuff for the lawsuit stemming from the accident. I held down the finances as the only working person in the relationship. Sex became difficult for her to enjoy, due to both her depression and being in physical pain during. We ended up only having mediocre sex very sporadically for the next year or so, maybe once every 2 weeks, sometimes once a month. At this point, a year and a half into marriage and a year post-accident, she brings up the idea of open relationships and 3s, something we had talked about on occasion but never deeply discussed and considered. She wanted to start with a 3s, and said she would feel comfortable doing it with someone she had already been with and suggested her ex. I should have taken it as a sign but I didn't. She starts hanging out with aforementioned ex, and I didn't object as I don't like being a possessive person and trusted her. After a week or so, I get a random FB message from someone saying they saw my wife with the ex and that they were doing stuff. No further elaboration, no other messages. I ask her about it, and she says the girl who messaged me was just obsessed with her ex and was jealous they were hanging out. I did what I always did, which was believe and trust her. A month later, while we were laying in bed in the morning, I watched a random YouTube video that related to cheating somehow. She starts crying and confesses that she ended up having sex with her ex, and that she couldn't keep it to herself anymore after a month of deceit. I believe it was genuine disdain for her own actions and guilt, not just an act. She swore up and down that they only had that sort of contact the one time, and that it was very dissatisfying. I tried my best to forgive her and not come to terms with what happened. She was my best friend. I had to try, but it was clear that she used the discussion just to have another romp with her ex. She didn't want to have sex with me often, but it was worth physical pain for her to go out of her way to fuck him. That was now 2.5 years ago. Her depression deeply worsened, has crippling guilt and remorse over her actions. I feel entirely detached from her, and I'm only with her because I felt it was the right thing to try and push through. I did have a night of bad feelings, and read her text to her best friend. It was clear that although she only had sex with him once, they had done things short of having sex a few times before it that she never mentioned. She has one friend, my family is more of a family than her own to her, can't work because of her back, and has had suicidal thoughts in the past. I felt that if I left, she would not make it, and I could not live with myself if I did that to her. I couldn't uproot and ruin her life. Wanted a few times to have some sort of relationship to distract me from it all, but nothing would ever really help, and that only serves to make me a cheater too. I just don't understand how I could have been so naive. I've never been able to tell anyone because it would bring repercussions to her, and I can't talk to her about how because it would shatter her, and I can't ruin her like she did me. I feel broken. Update, I told her how I felt. I told her about all the hurt, confusion, and despair I felt. She nearly passed out when she finally understood how she silenced me and separated me from support. We are going to try, and have booked a counseling session for the both of us. I spoke with a good friend of mine about it yesterday for the first time ever, and I've never cried in front of a friend before then. He helped me come to the conclusion that if I don't feel differently after a few months of counseling, then I'm going to need to distance myself. I feel guilt, I feel regret, and I feel shame. It doesn't feel like my life anymore. Story 2. She's going to spend a night at a hotel for work. She is employed in the hospitality sector. They are going to launch a brand new resort. I asked her earlier if we'd be able to spend the night there to get a feel for the place, but she said that wouldn't be possible because they don't do that. Then, not too long ago, she informed me that she is going to have to spend the night there, and that I will not be able to accompany her. And that her superiors and executives will be there as well, though it's highly unlikely that they'll want to come. She informed me that this is something that they do on a regular basis whenever a new resort opens up. Notice the shift in the narrative? I have a bad feeling about this story. I have legitimate reasons to suspect this, but still I'm not sure. I've written it off as me being insecure and given her the benefit of the doubt because my intuition has been telling me that she might be having an affair with a superior at work, and my gut has been telling me this. I have a strong suspicion that as soon as she arrives at the resort, she will inform me that her phone and/or internet connection isn't working, meaning that she won't be able to take my call. What should I do if she continues to behave in this manner? The fact that the story suddenly shifted from "we don't do that" to "that's what we usually do" infuriates me. When she gets there, I have a feeling she'll definitely let me know that the phone connection and/or internet connection aren't working. She did this before when she was 2 hours late from work when I tried calling. It's impossible for me to tell if I'm just being insecure or if there are legitimate warning signs. If I tell you guys the things that happened, of course you'll take my side and say they're warning signs. For example, I am fairly certain that I saw her change her pants immediately after work and try to hide it, but I cannot be certain of this. Or that when she got home from work, she reeked of sexual activity. Or that she went to work wearing lingerie, a say-why bra and panties, but when she got home she wasn't in the mood for sex, but this is only from my point of view, and my view could be clouded by insecurity. Edit. Okay. So I confronted her about it, and we got into a heated argument about it. I had intended to remain silent, but after she refuted having sexual relations once more, I decided to lay everything on the table and let her know how I felt about the situation. I inquired about the hotel and questioned whether or not she had bothered to ask her manager for permission for me to accompany her. Now she's telling me that she didn't actually ask her boss about it in the first place. And that it was possible that another female coworker, who was also a supervisor, would be sharing a room with her, and that in the event that this occurred, it would be impossible for me to stay with her. However, she plans to inquire with her boss. After we had finished arguing, she admitted to me that the hotel situation might not even go through after all. Her account is constantly shifting. It's both ridiculous and frustrating at the same time. On top of that, she said that the relationship will end if there is an excessive amount of jealousy and a mistrust of the other person cheating. She assures me that she will always be true to me, that she loves me, and that she wants to spend the rest of her life with me. She conveyed her sentiments with honesty and sincerity in her words. I take her word for it when she says that, but holy hell, I couldn't be more perplexed. If she goes on this hotel trip, even if it's for work, I feel as though I have no choice but to call off our relationship out of respect for myself. I honestly feel like such a loser and my head is spinning. We'll provide an update the following day. Edit. I'm going to sit on it, keep my eyes open and look for more evidence. But if she ends up going to that resort without me and it seems even slightly suspicious, then I'm going to let her know that I'll walk. I simply don't believe that her workplace would separate a husband and wife overnight. There's no way I'm lying in bed at home while my wife is at a resort with her bosses and executives, and for some reason I'm not invited. If I'm not invited, I want to hear it directly from her boss. Thanks for waking me up, guys.